All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Andy, and this is Beard of Kanto. So I don't. I have a few more kind of like things that I wanted to talk about, but they didn't really belong in their own section. So they're just a few tips and things that I've learned. Um, but the first one is uh, kind of like higher value items. I wanted to show an example. Yes, so I have here listed a first edition jungle booster pack. Um, and I guess the tip I wanted to share here is when you list some of these higher value items, you need to um, kind of check out the current listings. So let's go ahead and first let's look at the current listings here. So you can see that the market price for this is $341. Um, but if I go down to the listings, the lowest you have is 379, and then you have 388, 392. So there are no uh, booster packs, first edition jungle booster packs that are available for this market price. So you want to be careful not to simply list an item like this for the market price. It's probably going to sell very quickly because you're going to be by far the lowest, but you're not going to make as much money as you could. So I would always check what are the current listings at and make sure you list it accordingly. So I've listed this one. I have the Wigglytuff art, and I listed it for 379, which ends up being the lowest listing by a little bit, by about $9 or something like that. But I have found that this you can, even though it's much higher, it's above market price for higher value items like this, they do sell. All you have to do is look at the current um, sales. There is one for 325, but again, I think they made the mistake of putting it closer to market price. But you can see there's 379, 389, 392, 398. So they will sell and do sell for much higher than market price for some of these higher value items. So that's one thing to look out for. Um, the next kind of tip is to always give a freebie. Always give freebie cards for every order that where it's possible. So I have found, if they order one card, I add a freebie card. Usually it's something worth, again, it's worth like 25 cents, 50 cents, um, but just the getting the free card for the buyer, it makes a big difference for them, and it makes it more likely for you to get for them to leave feedback in the first place, but certainly good feedback. But also it creates repeat buyers. I've found that to be true in my experience. I'll get a buyer, and then I'll get another buy, another sale from the same buyer. Um, I don't know for sure if it's because the freebie card, but I think that does kind of leave a good taste in their mouth when they buy from me and they get that free card. And it doesn't cost a lot, doesn't take a whole lot. Usually I'm putting cards in that I kind of hard to sell or I can't sell in the first place. So it's not that hard for me to do, and it makes a big difference for them. Um, the other thing I wanted to talk about was just like why not eBay, why TCGPlayer, um, and this is just more maybe a preference thing, but for me, TCGPlayer, um, I like the model. I like not being able to have not having to take pictures of every item. I like being able to list them in mass much easier. Um, and when it's lower value cards, I think TCGPlayer just makes more sense. I do use eBay for some things, certainly if it's not Pokemon cards. Um, but uh, I use TCGPlayer most of the time. So that's just my preference. But like slabs are good for eBay. Bigger lots. So if you're trying to sell like say a master set or something like that, I would use eBay for that. But other than that, yeah, I like the TCG player model. Um, the last thing I wanted to cover, I think it's the last thing, is when you make mistakes, because you'll make mistakes. One of the biggest mistakes I've made, or most common mistakes, is I will list a card with the incorrect condition, or I'll list a card. Um, I will have listed a card and then maybe sold it in person, and then I forgot to take it down, and so I no longer have the card. Um, and this definitely creates issues, right? If someone orders that card, now you have to somehow smooth it over with the buyer, and be like, hey, I don't have that card. Um, how do I resolve that? And the way what I've done and the approach that I've used that has worked very well, because this does happen, is you need to reach out to the buyer as quick as you can and just express your desire to ship the rest of the order in a timely manner. Because usually if it's one card, then you can offer a full refund and just say, "Hey, I'm really sorry." But most of the time, it's going to be an order with a few different cards in there, and you might be missing only one of them. So you just reach out and say, "Hey, like I'm really sorry. I made the mistake when adding this card to inventory, um, but I want to make sure to get this order to you in a timely manner. Would you prefer?" And I usually give them options, right? Would you prefer um, that I give you a partial refund for the cards that are missing or the cards that are damaged or something like that? Um, or I ask if they would like to replace that card with a similarly valued card in my store. And I'll be very generous, right? If it was a card that was $1, I'd be willing to let them switch it out with a $2 card, right? Just to, make sure that they feel like their needs are being met and that they're being taken care of. Um, so, and what I've actually found is when I make mistakes like that, based on how I handle it, um, they'll actually give good feedback because I handle it well. And so um, that has been a huge asset to me, um, funny enough, to make mistakes. And then it gives me a chance to show the buyer like how committed I am to making sure that they're taken care of. So that's pretty much all I had for you today. I know that was probably a bit longer. It was a bit longer than I anticipated, but um, yeah, hopefully that was helpful for you all. Um, Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.